Hello everyone. So let me quickly introduce about myself before I start off with the session. So myself, Devi Kumari Krishna. So I have overall 17 years of industry experience. So I've worked in several Microsoft platforms and predominantly into Dynamics 365 for last 11 years. So I have complete experience starting from pre-sales into completely doing the end-to-end delivery of the topics. So I'm a learner always here, and I want to share my knowledge. So here are my handles. I am active in LinkedIn most of the time, and I record my readings in my blogs and YouTube channel. Right. So today I would cover what is Dataverse. So we all know the security model in Dataverse. So I will touch the basics, and I will also talk about what is new things that has come up very recently in the Wave 2 release features. Right. So, with respect to Dataverse, as we all know that it is totally cloud-based. So it is a low-code data service app and service platform. So why do we use Dataverse? Does it have a independent database at the back end? No, it is a cumulative table collection. So it provides us n number of connectors, which is not limited to having the data in this own environment, but we could connect to any of the external environment, bring those data, use those data in the apps here, right? So is it designed for any complex data structures or transactional data? At the moment I would say that we are into the medium scale, small medium scale data handling that is happening here. So slowly we will groom to complex applications as well. So there are some key features, which we should understand that, why we use Dataverse. So what are the, basic features that is satisfying the need for us to, approach over the Dataverse platform. First is security. So the authentication mechanism is a well-known Azure authentication, with additional multi-factor authentication that we could enable. So we have the row and column level data authorizations that is possible. So auditing is possible at the app level as well as the data level, right? So in terms of scalability, we support complex data models, and we could store millions of data. And each instance that we have in Microsoft Dataverse, it has at the moment the extension up to 4 TB per instance. So what all storage is possible? Physically, data could be stored in Azure cloud. We could push the data to relational databases, store them as files, blobs, data lakes, and so on. So what the kind of applications that we are able to build here? So the well-known Canvas apps, model-driven apps, Power Portals, Power Pages. So these are the kind of applications which involves transactional, multi-user applications. And followed by that, now for us to build a strong application and interactive applications, it is also facilitated with the in the Power Virtual Agents as well as AI models. So here, I would say, or I would not recommend to use Dataverse and build applications using Dataverse for long running or batch processing kind of applications. Okay. So what is a common data model here? So it implements the common data model is the way we align the data in this Dataverse environment. So when I say common data model, so I could bring data from variety of sources, align them in a common format that the applications which use Dataverse are going to understand. So it is none other than our tables and relationship structure. Right? So when I have lots of data here and I'm going to use this data in my applications, the first and foremost concern is how is the security handled? Who can see my data and how do I restrict access to my data? So it comes with a very simple and well-known architecture of role-based security, where we have n number of users who could be part of our environment, and there are variety of roles which is predefined, or we could define our own custom roles into the system. And then it is going to be a complex matrix of which user is assigned with which set of roles and what role possess what sort of permissions on each table. So the common permissions which helps us to create, maintain a record is create level permission, read, write. and then share the records or assign the record to a different user. So these are the common set of permissions which is involved here. So in the old system or in the traditional system, we all know when we started off with on-premise, we used to have a table called a matrix table, which is going to map the roles against the privileges. We call it as a PVA table. So I mean, moving over to online, the hurdle is no more there, where we go and clear off those tables, which is automatically taken care, right? So in Dataverse, how do I apply these rules? So I see there are variety of roles. I see there are variety of permissions. How do I, do all these activities? Okay. So we will see that in the screen in a while. Okay. So I have already opened my CRM instance and I have kept the, advanced settings open. So I navigate to security and I open the security rules. Okay, so let me open any one of the security rule for us to understand how a security rule in Dataverse is, aligned. So let me take, yeah, Sales Manager. Okay, so here you see that we have a security role and you can see a business unit against it. So by default, when I try to create a new security role, it is always created at the root business level. So then it is also adopted for each and every BU level with the same security role name. Okay, so we have the role aligned in terms of core records. These are nothing but the out of box entities. So there are some predefined modules like marketing, sales, and the entities with respect to them are aligned in each tab. So there are some custom entities that we could create, and we will be able to update the permissions on these custom entities as well, which falls under this last tab, right? So here you can see the keys. So there could be, when I say, I don't want to give any, when I'm designing a new security role, I decide that for the activity monitor, I'm not going to allow permission for anyone. So then none is selected. So when I'm going to introduce a basic user level permission, so here, the legend denotes that. So when I want to create the role and give access of that particular record across the BU level, so then I go with this BU unit permissions. So we have this deep symbol which is for representing the parent and child business unit, and we have the organization structure. So the single matrix, it is helping me to define a role, and it is helping me to understand what level of permission on each table I'm going to have. So it is mapping a complex table against the a variety of permissions like create, read, write, delete, assign, share, and append to, right? Okay. So now moving on from security role at the data level. So now I have a building blocks within our organization, which is the business units. So we all know the traditional way how the business unit works. So here there would be a root level business unit for each Dataverse instance, followed by that we could create n number of child business units which adopts the root business unit based on the functionalities. So we an organization can have multiple types of business, and the business can be scattered across regions. So we can create business unit for each type of business, and for each specific region we will be able to create business units, and it keeps growing, right? So we all know that when I have a business unit and when I have a user created against that business unit, and he has the security role assigned, which is at the BU level, he can access all the data that is available against this BU based on the type of security role. Say I have read permissions for assign, which is enabled for all entities in this role A child 1 BU. Then I allocate this role to this user A. He will be able to see all the records that is coming under the governance of the security role in this business unit. Now, will the user be able to access the account 3, which belongs to a different business unit? So with the current structure, it is not possible. So how do then say for example a person in an organization can work for multiple businesses. So he could be part of marketing team and the same person can also be part of sales team. So in such scenarios, it is important that he is able to access some data which belongs to the marketing team and some data which belongs to the sales team. So in the traditional model, we will be sharing those records with this user. So when we share those data with the user, he will be able to, even though the record belongs to a different business unit, he will be able to see those records. And the other way is we from there we enhanced to teams. If he's part of the team and any security role assigned to the team, so that level of data is governed by this particular user. So now in this modernized business unit, we went one step ahead where the system is giving us some configuration settings. So when we have this configuration settings, so we the system is allocating the security role of a different BU to this particular user in a different BU. Like I belong, user A belongs to child one BU, and if I enable this new structure, I will be able to assign a security role called role B child 2 BU from a different business unit to this user A. When I do this, automatically, the records which comes under the accessibility limits of that you security role falls, under the access limit of user A as well, right? So here, let me talk about the matrix data access structure, which is a well-known structure for all of us. So this is a typical standard example that we all have seen from Microsoft and we adopted. So how do I, make a user? See, user A is here who belongs to the division A child BU, and can he access the records which is there in the parent? No. But if user A belongs to the parent level, does he have access to all the child records? Definitely yes. So because the access levels flow from top to bottom approach. So now is there a possibility that I get assigned to the security roles of division B? Yes, with the new matrix data structure, it is possible that I get my roles allocated from division B as well. Okay, so how do I enable the settings? So we go to the new admin power platform and from settings, so let me quickly show that as well. Okay, so I move on to the new admin power platform. From here, I choose the respective environment. So I've kept some trials configured. Okay, I move on to the settings. Okay, so I move on to the product and I navigate to features. So here are these advanced settings available. Okay, so yeah, record ownership across the business unit. So I believe this feature is released in this wave 2 release. Okay, so next I move on to one more interesting topic of associating a business unit with an Azure AD security group. So till now, when we create a table, when we create records against a table, so we know that by with this the governance of these records happens via a security role. So, there are many users who are going to join my, organization. And say, for example, there is a sales team which is existing and they have access to account opportunity and leads. Tomorrow, there are new set of people who are joining the sales team. So it should not be like, I navigate to the profile of each person and then allocate the security role every time. So here, I want an enhancement that when a person is joining a particular business group, so automatically the access of that particular business group should follow to the new members who is added. And when I'm removed from that business group, the access that I was holding should be removed. So these kind of settings is governed with this associated business unit with an Azure AD security group. So let us see how to enable this. For this, let's go to Office 365 portal. So you have to be an admin to reach over here. From admin center, we will navigate to the teams and group section. So I can create a new group. Okay, so there are two kinds of groups which we create. So the Microsoft 365, this group is mainly for if I want to create a distribution list, or if I want to have a group email and configure the group email where I add members to that, and when people respond to that group, all the members are notified. In those scenarios, I create a Microsoft 365 group. So when I create a security group, it is basically solving our purpose of governing the access, right? So let me create this group for business unit 2. So demo group. Okay, so now the group is created. So once I have the group, I move on to the admin power platform. So I choose the respective environment again. So I move on to settings, user permissions and teams. Okay. So here I try to create a new team. Okay. So now I say which business unit I want to choose. So I could nominate one of the user as administrator here. Okay, so when I'm trying to create a team, so there are four different groups at the moment that we could create. One is owner, which means anybody who belongs to this particular team will automatically be the owner of the records. And there could be access where when I add members to this access group, they will all have read level access. They will be able to view all the records, but they will not be able to perform any CRUD operations. So next is, Azure Active Directory Security Group and Azure Active Directory Office Group. So these are the four kinds of, teams that I will be able to create. So the quick helper here, it shows, what is the, accessibility level of each. So AAD group is the one which we are going to create now, where apart from owning the team, so this group is has the additional capability where members are automatically added or removed. Unlike in owner, we have to manually add the members or remove the members at the team level. So here it is automatically happening. So that is the one benefit of this Azure AD group, right? So now I assign AD security groups. So here we just created a group and I will be able to perform a search based on the group that I have created now. B2 demo. So what are the membership types? Can I, allow the members who are into my system, or can I allow only owners, or is it okay that I give access to the members and the guests configured within this tenant? All those things are governed by this my membership type. So I am allowing both the members and guests configured in my system. Okay, so here I see that I will be able to allocate security roles. So let me randomly pick up some roles for the moment. Okay, so we have created a team. So now this team members will be able to access the business unit what we have given here. So these members, since we have added them as a AD group, they will be members who belong to this team are always privileged to be the owners of records within that particular business unit. Okay, so this is what we have seen. Okay, once I create a group, here, I will be able to associate members. So I just, select that group and then go on to add members, and manually I can add, additional members and guest users to this, particular group. Okay. So now I want to talk in detail about the security roles because, that is the heart of, this Dataverse platform. So, what is a security role? So, it defines how each user or each team can come and play around with the data that is there in the environment. So here there are two kinds of basic privileges. One is record level privilege. So in a record level privilege, what we will do is in a table there could be volume of records, and who can see each data, and who can see each row, who can action on each row. Those things are governed by like record level privileges. And there are something called task based privileges. So the what does these task based privilege do? So let us deep dive into the security role. So let me open this sales manager. So let me stay on the core records. So here you see there are a lot of additional privileges. So I mean, in each security role, apart from enabling the access to the data tables, I can also give additional access here. So where I decide. If the person will be able to see the audit history, whether he can do a bulk delete, whether he can see the dashboards. So otherwise whether he will be able to enable the tracing, these kind of miscellaneous privileges which is required in the environment for when there are some triggering actions like plugins enabled. So whether he can see the logs, or if there is any audit governance enabled, whether those logs can be accessed. All these additional privileges at the system level also, we call them as miscellaneous privileges. So these access also we could allocate, and this governs not at the record level but at the system level and at the data table level, right? So this is still the traditional customization environment. So I mean, this is not yet visible in the new Make.Power Apps portal. Okay, so the governance is not limited to the respective functional entities or functional data tables. We could also govern the access from security rule for the business process flows as well. So what all the security role governs apart from data? So apart from data, so now if I move on to these apps, so for when I enable some custom apps, or when I enable each and every module of CRM in my tenant, so I get this out of box, apps, right? So the visibility of these apps is also governed by the security rules. Here I click on manage roles. So when I select some roles, the app visibility is also enabled by the security roles. So what all security role governs? Access to data, access to the app itself, access to set of metadata, and access to dashboards. So all these things are governed with a single model called the security role model. Okay. So apart from the custom roles, so there are always a set of predefined security roles. So what are these predefined security roles? So when I create a particular environment, if I go navigate to the security role, I always get a huge list of roles that is available for me to select. So these are called as predefined security roles. So in these predefined security roles differ based on the environments that has Dataverse and the environments that do not have Dataverse. So when I have the environment without a Dataverse database, so there are two predefined roles called environment admin and environment maker. So these two roles determine whether I will be able to create new Canvas apps or model driven apps, or whether the app that is available is visible to me. All these things are governed by these two roles in an environment. So where do I see these roles? So we see these roles in the Power Platform. Again, I move on to the environment. So you can see these roles available here. So every time a user is created in the Office 365 portal, so we have to make sure that that user is part of the environment. And when he's part of the environment, it is necessary that we allocate the respective roles for him to go and access that environment within the Power Maker portal, right? So here only if I have access, I will be able to see all these environments available here. Okay, so apart from this, we have also have environments with Dataverse database. So here we get additional entities with the service reader privilege, support user privilege, system customizer privilege, all these things. So, does the security role apply only to a user level? No. Security role applies to a user level. We have seen that it is also, applicable at the team level, on a owner team or a group team level. Now, one step ahead, we have seen that we could allocate security roles at the BU level also by creating the AD groups. Okay. So we also have this application user, right? So for those application users, security roles we don't necessarily go and I mean system doesn't allow, and also we cannot go. We don't create a security role, but those things are governed by the list of services that is in during installation itself. There are some predefined security roles that will come, which will enable the governance of these application users. Okay, so now I move on to the next key topic of security profiles. So I again move on to the advanced settings customization. So I think I had it open. Yeah, here you go. Okay, so here we have seen in the earlier sessions of how the users are governed, how the teams are governed, how the business units are governed. So now once we have all these governance in place, we are applying the security rules for each of these levels. So when on top of it, so security role still governs the access at the row level. So be it user level, team level, business unit level, when I have these security roles and I go to a particular entity, a security role still tells me what all data or what all rows I can see and what all rows I cannot see. So what do I do for getting access at a specific record level? For example, I move on to accounts. Okay, so there are variety of columns this account has. So when I apply a security role, I either see the data of each record for all these columns. So is there a possibility that I cannot see or it is encrypted, a particular field level information is encrypted, so that cannot be governed by the security role. Hence we go and create a security profile, right? So I navigate to security. So here we have something called field security profiles. Okay. So first and foremost is for me to enable the field security profile, I have to tell the system. So let me, just create a blank profile and keep the account fields. So now let me save and close this. Okay, now I come to the traditional way of customizing the system. So we don't do this anymore. We always do this in Maker portal, but still, since it is in the same environment, I will quickly create a field here. While this is coming up, I will also have uh, Maker portal open. So I'm in the customer service trial environment. So here in the Maker portal, if we want to add new fields, we call them as columns here. We just click on a column. So let me create a field. Let it remain as a text field. Let the format also be text and behavior with a simple. When I scroll down, I have some advanced options here. So here we have something called enable column security. So when I do this, this field will be available for me to choose in the security profiles. Right? So now we will create one more field in the traditional way. So now I have the provision to create a new field. So here in the traditional way, you can see that it is still called as field security. So here let me create one more field. Okay, so I'm simply enabling the field security. So I will leave the default data types as is. Okay, so let me quickly publish the customizations. Okay, publishing. Okay, previous field because of the publishing it did not go through. Okay, let me cancel this. Let's give it a while for the publishing to complete. I come back to the advanced settings. Let me kill this session. Okay, while this is loading, I move on to my security profile theories. So in the security profile, we determine two things. One is how do we secure the field? And when I secure the field, am I securing it at the user level, or again, is it possible to secure it for a group of people? So currently, it is possible to secure it at the user level as well as the teams level, right? So what a kind of permissions I could grant? So one is a read, where only we could see the data. Next is create level permission, where if at all I create a new account record and there are some fields which is enabled with this field security profile, I will be able to create data for this particular field as well. So, and again, update, we will be able to modify an existing record provided I have the privilege for accessing that record along with the field security profile as well. Okay. The combination of these three permissions always it is helping us to, have this specific data governance on who can see this field and who cannot see this field. Okay. My publishing is completed. So I come back to my security. So I'm trying to, open this specific screen and see these, level of permissions in the environment directly. So, when I move on to the next, all my fields for which I know the column security and the field security is enabled will get listed. So we can simply go and choose a particular field, configure the permissions, and then define which user or team can see that, and then we could create the profile. Taking a while. Okay, so here these are the system generated field security profiles which is coming as part of trial. So when I click on new, so here I can define a new value. Okay, so I can simply save and later come and enable the members and fields, or I could directly create it. So we have created these fields now, right? Account tags. Trying to see other fields that we created. Okay, so we will go with this particular field that we enable now. So here you can see the kind of permissions I will be able to configure. So there are no restrictions that field security profiles can be enabled only on custom fields or only on custom entities. Even for the out of box entities and out of box fields or custom fields, it is always possible to enable the field security profile. Okay, so here, as I said, there are three kinds of permission. Allow read, where user can only view the record. Okay, so apart from reading, I can also allow him to update the records. So I could, think and decide whether I have to allow him to create or not. So by default, if I don't allocate these security roles, only system admin privileged people will be able to access these, data. Okay, so now I have enabled field security profile. So I come and configure the teams who can access this. So let me try to add a team. Okay, I have not created a team here. Okay, now we have successfully enabled the field security profile. Okay, so we have next, I think, a hierarchy level security that we will go on. Yeah. So the next important security that we see is, now we have seen that we have created security roles, we have created security profiles. I mean, how do I adopt the security, to the child entities or child organizations or child business units? So extending the existing security models for a specific business unit or a security role, or sharing of information, and for, we could also share the security permissions to a team. Here there are two types of how we can enable these hierarchical security. One is the manager hierarchy. In this case, assume there is a bigger sales organization. Here the manager has to be in the same business unit. Either he belongs to that particular sales organization, or if there is a root organization for it, he should be a part of that, for him to become enable the manager hierarchy. Okay, so here we may want to restrict, we may want to use this if you want to restrict the access across the business units. So, for example, I configure a manager hierarchy within the, to access the data and govern the data within the BU level only. So there is something more called position hierarchy. So what does this position hierarchy do? The position hierarchy will allow you to access data across multiple business units. Say, for example, you are the vice president of an organization. So below you, there are multiple business units or multiple sales divisions. Okay. So, say, for example, there is a sales team for India, there is a sales team for Singapore, there is a sales team for Europe. And you are the, vice president for all of, these sales divisions. So for in that case, if I'm going to build a sales report, or sales forecast, so I should be able to see data across these business units, right? It is not necessary that I have to be at the root level, because I'm only interested to see the sales level data. So in such scenarios, we will create positional hierarchy. So with the positional hierarchy, we allow the access of data across business unit. So here we could configure, which all business unit data we will be able to apply the security rule for. So let us check this also in the system. So I come back to the advanced settings security. So here you see that we have something called hierarchy security. So whenever I'm enabling the hierarchy modeling, so here I come to this and I enable the setting. So here there are two, when I enable this, I get an option for manager hierarchy and the custom position hierarchy. When if I will go with custom position hierarchy, okay. So if I go with custom position, I will be able to configure new positions and then enable the position hierarchy here. Okay, since this is the new position, which is the only position available, there won't be any parent position. So let me quickly save this. Okay, so here you can see that I will be able to configure the users. So here I can, pick up a person and then define a position for him like a VP or a sales manager and other configurations, right? Okay, so let me choose an existing user who is already with this particular role. So I think only my role will be available in this environment. Okay, so now we have created a new position. So we will use this position here. I come back to configure position hierarchy. Okay, now I choose this. Yes. When I choose this, this is going to operate here. Okay. So here I could define the depth level of, how many child BU levels I have to, go and, access the records and information. So this is also applicable when I go with the manager hierarchy. Okay. So now I have enabled the user. So this is how we create the manager hierarchy here. So when I create this hierarchy modeling, when I create this, does it imply to all the entities that belong to the BU? So by default, it implies to all the entities. So in if at all we want to, exclude some of the, tables or entities, from, where we have to apply this hierarchy modeling, we could always choose from this existing list. Okay, this is not only applicable to OOB entities, we could also, when we create custom entities here, that list also would flow here. Okay, so I move on to security and see what else is the basic that we need to add here. Okay, we have seen security roles, hierarchy security, security profiles and positions. So how do we enable or disable security role for an app we have seen? So we will also check one more thing on enabling the security role for dashboards. So I believe there should be some dashboards which is there in the system. Now we have some existing dashboards. Okay, I choose a particular dashboard. You can see here that, we could also govern the visibility of this here. Okay, by default, the display is to everyone. If I say that specific security roles to be applied, I could come and choose those security roles here. Okay, so yeah. I think pretty much we have touch based all the basics of the security here. Yeah. So now I will move on to the questions.
Thank you, Devi. Fantastic. Okay, I know there's probably lots of questions. Let's have a look in the chat. Okay, let's begin. So Ravi's asking, access and restrictions to tables is understandable as it is about data. What about access to business process flows? Why should we restrict BPF to some users?
Okay, so business process flow, for example, business process flow can have a review or approval process, right? In case a VP level person wants to access, or if he wants to create a record, he himself would be the approver. So in that case, we could, skip over some of the, stages within the system. So that is one reason why we have security role also for the business process flows. Or I could be an user who is not allowed to configure a review or approval stage for the particular set of entities. In that case also we need to have security role restrictions.
Great. So Daniel is asking, what security permission allows a user to access the top right environment picker? We don't want them to give customizer role.
Okay, so what is the question again? Sorry.
So Daniel is asking, what security role
Mm-hmm.
permission allows a
Mm-hmm.
user to access the
Mm-hmm.
top right environment picker? We don't want to give them the customizer role.
Admin privilege, system admin privilege.
So Ravi is asking, how do we create new business units as required for the app we are developing? Create a new AD group and add users to it?
Right. This is what we have seen. So creating a new business unit, you will do it from the advanced settings. So when I come here to business management, settings. Okay. So here I can create, or in the new admin power platform, I can go to the environment, settings. So here you can see, I can come here and create. So under the user plus permissions, we have these business units. So from here, I can create new business units. Okay, so while creating, I can decide who is the parent business unit. And when I save, I will also be able to add users, teams from here.
Thank you. So Ravi is asking, in typical development projects using Dataverse, what
Mhm.
default roles do we give to the developers? I ask this as if they don't have system admin role, they are not able to do a lot of things.
Right. So environment maker and basic user privilege. So again, I navigate to this list. So let me close this. So here I come to users. Say I want to add a new user to this environment. Okay, so we have a basic user and environment maker. Here you go. Yeah. Okay, so now the user got the permission to access the environment. Okay, any other questions? Raz, you hear me?
Hi there. The next question, thank you, is by Rosie, who's asking, I have a setup security model using AAD group, business unit, team model, and it works as expected. However, I have to manually reassign users into the correct BU upon their first login to the environment. I am currently getting around this using a Power Automate. Is there another way that the users can automatically be assigned to the correct business unit rather than being put in the parent business unit by default? Good question.
Yeah, at the moment it is still not possible. Mm.
Yeah, good question, Rosie. Yeah, often you have
Yeah.
to, tinker around with it, and it's Um, okay, Alexander's asking, will hierarchy position-based security allow to restrict HR managers to see salaries of HR directors in Dataverse, i.e. HR on HR restriction on highly sensitive data like compensation, bonus, assuming this data is exported to Dataverse in the first place?
Definitely yes. If we while configuring we exclude those tables like salaries, compensation, those Dataverse tables. If we exclude from the table list, then that restriction can be applied using hierarchy security.
Great. Okay, so I think that's the final. There were some comments and questions in relation to the business process flow that you answered earlier.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good commentary around that. So on that particular topic, so Ravi mentioned if a BPF is running with a per flow license rather than with a user license, will this be restricted to anyone or every user can access this BPF? In which case Michael responds, BPFs are actually tables in the database if you only want certain people to edit the process, i.e. move from one stage to another, then you can restrict it there. And then Coughlin mentions BPF has data steps, but it also has stages and flows, workflows, and other stuff hooked onto it. So you want to make sure only people who are allowed to work on a particular business process has access to the business process flow. Otherwise, they might appear to trigger cloud flows or plugins that they are not supposed to. And the final comment, I think, from Coughlin is, I think if you want to give sysadmin, you have to give environment maker and system customizer to developers. So they're the comments. Right, okay. So Devi, so I really want to thank you. I think a lot of people were waiting for this session because of the new feature capabilities of the security model, which, to be honest, a lot of people still aren't using because they're still configured based on the old security model. So huge round of applause, guys. Devi, let's give you a huge round of applause. I think it's definitely helped, refine a lot of people's understandings and helps them to actually leverage on some of the newer capabilities of the security model. So thank you so much for that, Devi. Devi,
Thank you, Raz.
thanks. Yeah, and thanks for all the community efforts you're doing lately. You're very active. You're doing lots of things in the communities. Keep up the great work. Feel free to share your blog in the chat so that the community can keep in touch with you, Devi. And I hope to see you
Sure,
in
Raz.
person very, very soon.
Sure, Raz. Happy for that.
Thank you,
Thank
Devi.
you all for giving this
Thank you, Devi.
opportunity. Thank you, community.
Awesome. Fantastic. There you go. That was